I thank the Chairman and committee members for the opportunity to give voice to my brother Bernard, who can't represent himself due to the profound nature of his disability. His 40 years lived experience in residential care is a crucial consideration for today's discussions, but not for the reasons one might assume. Because Bernard has never lived in an institution or in an inappropriate setting. He has lived in St. Mary of the Angels. Bernard lives a full, valued and meaningful life on a tranquil 30-acre campus in Beaufort, not far from our family home in Carsveen. When we were kids, Bobo, as we've always known him, spent weekends, holidays and special occasions with us. During the week, he lived among his peers, who at that time were children with severe or profound physical and intellectual disabilities. My mom recalled the impact on Bobo after he moved to St. Mary of the Angels at the age of 5. Everything in his world changed for the better. His epileptic fits began to diminish. The immense heartbreak I initially felt was soon replaced with gratefulness that my son was in the best place, getting the best chance for a long and healthy life. Bobo and his friends grew up together in an environment that was purposefully built for them. From its founding in 1968, the campus was developed and upgraded with them specifically in mind. The on-site facilities include a heated hydrotherapy pool, a sensory room with heated waterbed, a wheelchair swing, outdoor sensory equipment, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, music therapy, jacuzzi baths, psychology, psychiatry, massage, speech and language therapy, dentistry, GP visits, and a day centre for crafts and cookery. There's also a special school and a chapel which many individuals can walk or cycle to independently. Recently, the local community raised €500,000, and this was used in part to improve walkways, landscaping, and construct new bedrooms and sunrooms. Today, Bobo is at home on his holidays, but if he was in Beaufort, he'd probably be at a tea party with friends or spending time in the spectacular grounds. He might be planting flowers in a sensory box in the patio outside his private ensuite bedroom or chilling out in the hydro pool. Maybe he wouldn't be there at all, and instead he'd be out on one of his regular day trips to the nearby towns of Killorglin or Killarney. All this with the help of the exceptional frontline staff who know him so well. This is Bernard's life now, but his future is uncertain due to this government policy. The 2011 Time to Move On report identified St. Mary of the Angels as one of 72 residential settings to close within 7 years, purely because it is campus-based. If Bobo could tell us where he wanted to live, we believe he would choose his current place of residence. But this policy mandates that he move out to live in its preferred place of residence, quote, an ordinary neighbourhood. And it sets out narrow parameters within which Bobo can make further choices. In this way, the policy denies people like Bobo rights afforded to them under Article 19 of the UN Convention. The policy ensures that people like Bobo will be forced to comply by issuing a further mandate that there will be no new admissions to congregated settings. With an ageing population, it is inevitable that the number of people living in St. Mary of the Angels will dwindle, making it economically unviable to maintain its facilities. Ultimately, numbers will fall to an extent that makes it impossible to stay open for the few who remain. Meanwhile, Bobo's vibrant community will diminish, and he will notice a change in his environment. It will feel lonely and isolated. His home could become an institution for the first time. The policy removes Bobo's right to live on a campus, and it denies this right to all current and future Bobos because its implicit aim is to eliminate congregated settings, and its explicit aim is that there be no further need for congregated settings. This too violates a right under the Convention to make choices on an equal basis with others, since campus living is an option open to other cohorts of society, like students, older people, and even some people with disabilities. The policy insists Bubba won't live in a community until he's in an ordinary place, being an ordinary person. But a community is by definition a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. Bubba lives among people with whom he shares much in common. The government should not define community for the individual. Rather, it is the individual who should define the communities in which they wish to participate. For Bubba, moving to the community means losing lifelong friends and having nothing in common with his new neighbours. Research supporting the ideology that ordinary community living is best for all people with disabilities, no matter how severe or complex, must take into account the unique needs and real lives of the minority, 14% of people with severe ID and 4% with profound ID, for whom a dramatic change of setting and routine could have very negative consequences. The essential facilities they need won't be available to them out there in the community any more than they're available now to the families with disabled children who are crying out for them. Decongregation has played out internationally with tragic consequences. To date in Ireland, the only stories getting airtime are the successful ones. I can't ask you to take my word for it that so far this policy has badly failed some vulnerable people, but please consider the fact that since its launch in the period 2012 to 2019, 278 people were admitted or readmitted into congregated settings. This happened despite the policy's aim to remove the need for such places. Where are these people supposed to go when the door to the last St. Mary of the Angels has shut for good? I put it to you that St. Mary of the Angels is a community in its own right with a proven track record of success spanning 6 decades. It is a residential care model that should be researched and replicated, not broken up and sold to fund community living. In closing, I ask the committee to support my request that St. Mary of the Angels be immediately exempted from the time to move on policy, which should never have targeted it in the first place, let alone designated it a pilot and priority site for decongregation. Thank you very much.